Okay, so last week we finished up Chapter 7, and we had you do a review exercise on page 221 to help get you ready for your Chapter 7 test. The first problem that I want to go over with you was problem number 3. It was the word problem, came right out of section 7.1, where you had to write an equation that was going to have a variable on both sides. And it tells you something about we was going to make some rows of chairs, and she could make 6 rows and have 3 chairs left over, or she could make 8 rows if she had another 11 chairs. And then it asked you to find out, the exact question was, write and solve an equation to find how many chairs are in each row length. So that's what you're looking to find, so there's your let statement. So to do number 3, you're going to start by defining your variable. Let x be the number of chairs in a row. Okay, so x is the number of chairs in a row. And the question, I think, again, going by the wording on the page, I think it said you can make 6 rows. Well, if x is the number of chairs in each row, 6 rows would be 6x. And if you had 6 rows, you would have 3 chairs left over. So with 6 rows, you would have 3 chairs left over. And then it says she could also, or she could have made 8 rows, 8x, there's 8 rows of chairs, but she would need another 11 chairs. So she is 11 chairs short of being able to make 8 rows. So this is the equation that you needed to come up with based on the words for problem number 3. Once you have this equation, you notice it's an equation with a variable on both sides. We talked about when you have an equation with a variable on both sides, move the variable term that has the lower coefficient. Since 6x is less than 8x, we should subtract 6x's from both sides. Leaves you 3 equals 2x minus 11. Two-step equation. You should know how to do these at this point. If not, go back, check out the video on two-step equations. Undo this subtraction by adding 11 to both sides. 14 equals 2 times x. Undo multiplication by dividing both sides by 2. 7 equals x. 7 would be the number of chairs in each row. That's how you do question number 3 from Friday's assignment. Number 4. Again, you're solving the equation with a variable on both sides, but you have a lot of fractions. I know how much 8th graders like fractions, so what we showed you how to do was clear these fractions. Your first step should be to eliminate the fractions. That way you're not having to try and add 2/3 or divide by 2/3. You can clear the fractions by multiplying by the lowest common denominator. If you look at your fractions, your denominators are 3 and 6. The least common multiple of the denominators, or the lowest common denominator, is 6. We're going to multiply everything on both sides of the equation by 6. And what that's going to do is clear the fractions. We're going to simplify first, and every one of those fractions, the denominator will become 1. So we eliminate the fractions. Here we go. 6 times 2/3 n. Simplify. 3 into 3 once. There's how you clear the fractions. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 2n. 4n. Same thing. 6 times negative 2/3. 3 into 3 once. 3 into 6 twice. 2 times negative 2. Watch your signs. Remember, you're taking the sign with the term. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And you notice on the left side of the equation, we've just cleared the fractions. I want you to do the same thing over on the right side now. Maybe we'll pause the video and see what you come up with when you distribute the 6 to the n divided by 6 and the 4/3. Should have ended up with 1n plus 8. 2 times positive 4 gives you a positive 8. So there's what you have after you clear your fractions, and obviously this would be much easier to simplify than what we started with. We have variable on both sides. Let's subtract the variable term with a lower coefficient. Leaves us 3n minus 4 equals 8. Two-step equation. Add 4 to both sides. 3n is 12. Divide both sides by 3. And n equals 4. All right. Number 9. Very similar. Maybe it has some like terms that you need to combine as well. Start by clearing the parentheses with the distributive property. Negative 5 times 2x, negative 10x. Negative 5 times negative 9, positive 45. When we simplify the right side of the equation, 2 times x, 2 times negative 8, and then we also have to subtract 11. So now you end up with some like terms on the right side of the equation. We can combine a negative 16 and a negative 11, make it a negative 27. So I have negative 10x plus 45 equals 2x minus 27. Again, you have a variable on both sides of the equation. Careful, you have negative 10x's on the left, 2x's on the right. To avoid dealing with negatives, I'm going to get rid of the negative 10x's. Adding 10x's to both sides. Again, we're still moving the variable term that has the lower coefficient. Negative 10 is less than 2. That's why we get rid of that one. Leaves me with 45 equals 12x minus 27. There's your two-step equation. We add 27 to both sides. And we have 72 equals 12 times x. Divide both sides by 12. And 6 equals x. Okay, so we've solved 3 of the 4 types of problems that you'll be seeing tomorrow on your test. The equations with variables on both sides, including distributive property, like terms, clearing fractions. The last thing you can end up when you have an equation with a variable on both sides are equations that have no solution or many solutions. Take a look at number 11. Again, you start with your distributive property. 5x minus 15 plus 6 equals 5x minus 9. A negative 15 and a positive 6 are like terms. They can be combined. If you take a negative 15 and add 6 to it, you end up with 5x minus 9 equals 5x minus 9. Notice you have the same equation or same expression on both sides of the equal sign. This is going to be infinitely many solutions. We should tell that already because you have the same thing on both sides. However, you can keep simplifying this. We could add 9 to both sides. That leaves me with 5x equals 5x. Again, anytime you have the same thing on both sides of an equal sign, it's an identity, infinitely many solutions. But if you want to, we could divide both sides by x. Give us 5 equals 5. And again, that is infinitely many solutions. Any value of x would make that equation true. Okay, those are the 4 types of problems you're going to have to be able to do on your test tomorrow. Check out your review on page 221, 222. Look at the quiz that we took last week. If you have any questions, come see me in the morning.